Hi there. In this video, I'm just going to show you how to download the CSV and edit it in Google Sheets. So hopefully, as you can remember, you access your C file. It's the HTY 599 underscore labs, and we're at lab 2, map to table to text and back. So click that folder, and then under the data folder, you should find the kind of the SS camps, and this is just an example shapefile that you can play around with if you want. It's the one that I made. I made some of these types of maps from. So if you're adventurous, go for that and kind of play around with that. Ocean polygon is just a better ocean file that I used. If you want to use that, that's a polygon file that shows where the oceans are. And then Auschwitz camps.csv. This is the table or the tabular information you're going to use when you add 6 fields of information to 6 individual subcamps. So to download it, you can either hover over it there and you can download right there, or you can select this box and hit download there. Either way works. So go ahead and just hit download. You can see I've done it a couple of times. I'll just grab this one here and drag it onto my desktop. Cool. So when you drag yours, it should be called Auschwitz camps, and it's a CSV. If you hover over, look at the properties, it'll say comma separated value. And just as a quick reminder, a CSV, a comma separated value, it's just a very basic type of tabular format, right? So the data model would be tabular, and the format would be the file type. Just to show you that what's behind it, if we open it with just a simple text editor like Notepad, we're going to see just a whole list of values here separated by commas, hence the name, comma separated values. And there's it's a very common format, and that's why I'm having you work with it, because a lot of times tables will come in this format and you need to learn how to kind of manage it and that kind of thing. So what we want to do is actually open up your Gmail, right, and then go to this the Google Apps icon here. You should be able to just hit Sheets, and that's what we want to use. If you don't have that, you can go to Drive, and you should be able to create a new sheet there as well. And I'm using Google Sheets just because it's an open source format, it's an open source program. It's free. Anybody can use it. It's you can do a lot with it. It's kind of like a basic version of Excel. If you prefer to use Excel or OpenOffice Calc or any other number of kind of table management programs, you can do that. But we're going to use Google Sheets for our purposes. And you can just hit blank like that, and it gives you a brand new sheet. You might be tempted to just click this and drag it into here, but that's not going to work. So what we need to do is go File and Open, and Control O, or if you're on a Mac, that'd be Command O. So we're going to open, and then it gives us options. If you've uploaded this onto your Google Drive, you can get it there. But what I'd like to do is go to Upload here, and now we can drag it on from the desktop. So if you go and drag that CSV file like that, it will upload, and it should just pop right in there. And now we're looking at the CSV file in it as a table, which is great. And so now that you've got it kind of online in the cloud, it will automatically save for you, and that's great. And all we're going to do in this video is I'm going to talk about kind of adding fields and defining those fields by kind of a data type. So one example that we were talking about was, let's say you have the name of a district or the name of a zip code, for instance. This has nothing to do with the Holocaust, but I'm just going to use the example of the zip code. So the first thing I have to do is name my fields, right? The fields are these columns, right? And then records are rows, right? So each record is a series of attributes that we give something based on different fields, okay? So I've just named this field zip code, and the example that I wanted to use here was that a number doesn't always have to be quantitative, right? It can be a name, it can be qualitative, or nominal is what we'd call it. And so if I just type in, for instance, the zip code that I live in, which is Newcastle, Maine, that'd be 04553, and if I hit enter, uh-oh, I lost the 0, right? The computer thinks I'm talking about a number, which is 4,553. So I don't want that to happen. So before I even do that, what I can do is I can select all of the cells that I want to change the format or the definition of. So I just clicked the first cell, scrolled down to the bottom, I hit the shift key and clicked the bottom cell. And I've highlighted, this is called a range, I've highlighted a range of cells here. And I can go up to format up here, okay, and under format it says number, and instead of number I want to just do a plain text. So I say plain text, and now I can say 04553, and I hit enter, and it stays. Isn't that nice? 04555, that kind of thing, right? So this is all to say we want sometimes our numbers to be stored as text, and sometimes we want our numbers to be stored as real numbers or integers or things like that. And so if I was to let's just populate the rest of these here, and that'll be good. And it's giving me, it's just kind of increasing them by 1 each time. That's kind of the default. It's fine. But for you, you'll only be picking 6 records, right? 6 individual subcamps to add 6 fields to. But anyway, one thing you might notice is that in this kind of text version of the number, it actually will justify it to the left. You see how all the text is clinging to the left side of the cells? That's just kind of a visual cue for you to see that, well, these must be stored as text rather than as a number. If it's stored as a number, it's justified to the right, so it clings to the right side of the cell. So what's another example of something that we'd want to have stored differently? Date was the other one we were talking about. And I'm just going to go ahead right now and tell you that Q is a little funky, and it will recognize date as a data type. But in order for us to do it properly, we have to store the date as a text in the file that we're going to use for our attributes. And when we bring it into Q, we can convert it to a date format. So let's just say we add a field called, this is again not not a Holocaust attribute, but I'm going to go ahead and just add in a date here. So I used hyphens, which is a good idea. Q can recognize hyphens, and I'm using the day, month, and year format. And I say OK. And you can see that it automatically assumes it's a number, not a text. But now I might just grab this and drag this down to the bottom, just so that I'm just giving you an example of a series of dates. You would manually enter these. But I want to store these as a text so that when I bring it into Q, I can convert it to a date format. So I go up to Format, and I have some options to try to format it as date, but I'm just going to tell you right away that it won't work, and we need to just call anything that's a date, just call it a plain text, and then it will justify it to the left, and it's all happy. So you might go ahead and just add your fields. Maybe one of your fields is gender. What is the gender of the people who are incarcerated at the camps? And you might say, well, okay, this one is male, and the next one is male. But I'm just demonstrating that you shouldn't type them in kind of willy-nilly. They need to be exactly the same so that the computer can recognize them as categories later, right? So these are the same letters, but this has an uppercase and this has a lowercase, and so they're not actually going to be recognized as the same category. So I would want this to look like that, and then I'd want to write, maybe I have some other categories here, and maybe out of all of your camps that you look at, these are the attributes that those camps have for gender, but we really have 3 categories, even though we have 6 entries, right? The 3 categories would be male, female, and both. So that's just kind of a, one way to kind of think about this here. Okay, so let's just say that we're done. I'm going to say that's good enough if you can add 6 fields, kind of attributes, to 6 records, and you pick individual subcamps from the text. And the exercise is really drawing attributes from body text or primary documents. So if you can do that, that's kind of what we're looking for. If you're eager, you can watch the next video, and I will show you how to turn this into a shapefile, which might seem complicated, but it will be useful for you down the line, and it will be up there as a resource. So this is automatically saved in Drive, but you can always download it as an Excel document or a CSV, and we'll talk about that in the next video. So good luck.